Steve, what's it going to take for me to grow $1 million business? You? Yeah. It's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and real commitment. What's going on, guys? Hey, I want to talk to you about what it takes to grow $1 million business. This recently came up as a question that was posed to me that somebody is wanting to start their company and they're like, what's it going to take for me to grow this to $1 million? Now, first and foremost, $1 million business seems like super sexy, and I get that. I want you to be aware that $1 million in today's economy is not a lot. In order to grow $1 million business, it takes a lot of expense. And I don't care what product or service that you may be in, it's going to take a lot of time, energy, and effort for you to get there. And it's going to take a lot of investment. And that can be a little bit scary. It can be a little bit challenging for some people to think about that because, in order for me to grow my $1 million business, I have to have a team. I have to have people that support the company, support my clients, help me close deals and support those deals once they're closed. And you got to account for salaries. You got to account for what it takes to market your business. There's a lot of these things. So $1 million isn't exactly what you think it is, but $1 million, if that's the top level, top watermark that you're shooting for, let's at least talk about how to get there. First and foremost, I would tell you, whatever your business is, that you've got to be super passionate about it, because you, as the CEO, co-founder, entrepreneur, et cetera, whatever, business leader, you have to be passionate about what you're doing because your customers feed off of that. And when you're out talking about your prospective business to a prospective client, you have to be the one that's the most enthusiastic individual out there. You have to understand all of the puts, the takes, the ins, the outs, all of the things that go into make your business, why somebody would want to do business with you, right? So no matter what product or service it might be, you've got to be passionate about what it is, right? You are the brand ambassador, and that's critical when you're trying to grow a business to $1 million or beyond. You have to understand, what does the market value allow for? And what I mean by that is, a lot of people get into business, but they don't actually evaluate the market that they're going into. They don't look at what their competition is doing, what they're doing well, what they're doing poorly, where they can capitalize. And that's critical because you need to understand what you're getting into, right? At the end of the day, you have to understand your market so that you figure out where you can differentiate and make yourself different so that you can have your product or service stand out. So that's critical. The other aspect is understanding your market, is understanding how much money people will pay. There's a lot of people out there that get out there and start a company and think, well, you know what? I'm going to get in and I'm going to make the best dishwashers, and I'm going to charge $10,000 for the best dishwasher. It may be the best dishwasher on the planet. It could be the Tesla of dishwashers. I don't know. You could be a genius. I have no idea. It could be the greatest dishwasher that the world has ever seen. However, most people can't afford a $10,000 dishwasher. You have to understand the market that you're getting into. You have to understand the capacity for what money you can charge for your product or service and what the market will bear. That is very critical. And that means that as a business owner or as the business leader, you really have to spend time understanding what you're up against in terms of your market and understand what pricing that you're up against. Not to say that you can't come in and be a disruptor, right? That's a very popular word for a lot of people that are getting into the entrepreneurial space. I'm going to disrupt this market. I'm giving new approaches to the service, and I'm going to have a different pricing model, blah, 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 which ends up being blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you have to understand what you're doing. You have to understand what people are willing to pay, what the maximum value is, and understand what that range looks like. The biggest mistake that I see a lot of people go into is they don't understand the pricing, and a lot of times get into the market and they're giving stuff away for free just because they need to be able to show an investor or their spouse that they're making successful inroads and they're getting customers. But if you're getting customers, they're going to suck up all your time. They're going to be customer service nightmares because they paid very little for your product or service, but they feel like they paid a king's ransom so they can abuse you. You haven't really benefited yourself, and you're not any further closer you're not any closer to building $1 million business on the backs of small, low value customers. But don't undervalue what you do, but understand what value you do bring to the table so that you know how to differentiate yourself when you get into a prospect conversation. And the other aspect of what I would say as a business owner and entrepreneur, if you're going to get into those conversations, what has been successful for me to grow my $1 million business is that I always tell the customer, look, you are getting me. Whether you buy a book from my website about the importance of building the right connections. I wrote a book called The Ripple Effect, Maximizing the Power of Relationships for Life and Business. I talk about the importance of building relationships with your customers because I am passionate about that, right? But if somebody buys a book and they're like, hey, this book sucks, I don't like it, or it came in damaged or whatever, I want them to know that they can come to me and that I would be the one that will resolve their issue. That is critical for me. I have to be willing to, step up and be behind whatever product or service I have. I also own 2 software companies. I do the exact same thing. But I want those customers, when they're considering, should I do business with them or not? I want them to know what they're getting. And that is, no matter how big my organization is behind me, that the buck stops with me. I am always going to be there to support you. When customers feel that and they see it and they sense it, you know what? They're more willing to give you dollars for the service and product that you have. So those are my advice. Understand your market, understand what the capabilities are for how much you can sell, understand the value you bring to the table. And then as the leader and CEO or, entrepreneur of the business, do not forget to tell that prospect or that customer that they are getting not only the product or service that you are offering them, but the person that stands behind it. Hopefully that's some guidance and direction that can benefit you as you decide to move towards growing $1 million business. And let me just give you one last piece of advice. Once you've got that $1 million, it's so much easier to get to the next million. So go forward, make your business successful. Hope this helped. And as always, ripple on.